Adobe Acrobat Studio, your new foundation. Use PDF Spaces to generate a presentation. Grab your docs, your permits, your moves. AI levels up your pitch, gets it in a groove. Choose a template with your timeless cool. Come on now, let's flex those tools. Draft, design, deliver, make it sing. AI builds the deck so you can build that thing. Do that, do that, do that with Acrobat.
Learn more at adobe.com/do that with Acrobat.
Excuse me! Taxi!
This is the 77 WABC minicast.
We are back, and today we have Brigadier General John Teichert, and he's with Space Force. And, well, John, I mean, so many things, so many moving parts in what's going on in Iran and Cuba, and the Ukraine. Ukraine is off the front page right now. I mean, the Strait of Hormuz.
Yeah, that's a biggie.
Where do you want to start today, John?
Well, John, I think that something that came out of press conferences on Tuesday from both the White House and the Pentagon is the most important element of what's going on in Iran. And that is now we are focusing not just on targeting Iran's capabilities to threaten today, but we're starting to go after their ability to threaten in the future by taking out industrial capacity, military-related industrial capacity. And I think that's a great idea now because whenever we decide this war is going to be over, we want to make sure that Iran is neutered for several years, and taking out industrial capacity so that they can't reconstitute is a great way to focus our attacks today.
And the Strait of Hormuz, which is the front page, and the war going on in Lebanon right now. What can you tell us about that?
Well, I actually think, John, that the Strait of Hormuz is such a big topic right now. 20% of the world's oil goes through that very narrow area. And, there's two things that we can best do to secure it. Number one, we can win, which really means taking out Iran's power projection capabilities. And then two, we can start escorting tankers through that area like Ronald Reagan did in 1983, but the Pentagon isn't quite comfortable doing that yet, which means the threat isn't mitigated enough. But we need to get oil flowing, and that's going to come from destroying Iran's ability to threaten people in the Straits of Hormuz and then starting an escort to defend.
And General Teichert, what about also the new Supreme Leader, which is it's been very fascinating to watch. He's the son of the Ayatollah, the late Ayatollah, thank goodness. And apparently the son was there when that bombing took place where there were 40 people that were taken out. But the son, there was a statement that came out. First of all, his coronation, they held up the picture. He wasn't there. Then there was a statement read a few hours ago by one of the newscasters there in Iran. And you still don't see him. You don't hear him. What are you hearing, and how important is it to maybe take him out?
Rita, we don't really know if he's still alive, exactly. But I do think just by naming him, it's an act of defiance by Iran. His statements, or whatever they say his statements are, is another act of defiance. We need to keep striking leadership targets until we have an opportunity to see regime change bubble up from inside or an opposition group start to attack that maybe gives us a chance to see something new in Iran for decades to come.
And General Teichert, we have Judge Weinberg here.
Good to talk to you again, Chandra. Let me ask you a question. Iran has been making threats to attack California. What are your thoughts about that? Is that real?
Judge, I'm not too concerned with that. Number one, they would have to get some ship all the way around the world unnoticed by our Navy and our Space Force that has a non-blinking eye over the planet. But I also think that if Iran really wanted to attack the U.S. because they had some capability, they would have done it during the 12-day war, or they would have done it during Operation Midnight Hammer or shortly thereafter, or they would have done it in the last week and a half or so. I think that we need to remain vigilant against threats, and that includes threats from the outside, but I don't see anything that suggests they've got that type of capability.
Governor Patterson.
General, before you were talking about the situation with the Pentagon, and apparently they have some apprehension about us going further into Iran. That surprises me a little bit because it would seem to me that we've already done so much damage to Iran, there wouldn't be very much they could do if we continue it.
Governor, I don't think there's apprehension about going into Iran because they are a threat. In fact, because we've taken out their command and control and their air defenses, it's like a bombing range the size of Alaska that we've got freedom to maneuver within. But I do think the Pentagon is leery about starting to escort ships through the Straits of Hormuz. And I think they're thinking back to the Russian Black Sea Fleet that got decimated by drone systems both in the air, on the surface, and underwater from Ukraine. And I still think they think the risk is too high to send our Navy through the Straits.
Got it.
So the big question is then, General Teichert, how much longer will this go on, do you think? I mean, we've heard President Trump say they're ahead of schedule with their targets, but where do you see the timetable going?
Rita, I think there was something that came out of the White House press conference on Tuesday that was interesting, where they redefined unconditional surrender. You know, you and I think surrender where the regime surrenders, but they said that Iran could be in a position where they couldn't defend themselves and they didn't have any ability to threaten others. And that would be what I call de facto unconditional surrender. They wouldn't admit it, but they just wouldn't have the power projection to do it. And I think that could happen in a week or two. But I really hope we continue to pursue internal security sites to give protesters and opposition groups a chance to flip the regime, because that would be the real win here.
Ed Cox.
General, we have a really multifaceted military fight going on here, a really hot fight. What's the role of the Space Force in this kind of a fight?
I love that question. You know, and I said earlier, the Space Force is the unblinking eye. It's the ultimate high ground, which means that we are overhead observing everything that is going on, in addition to navigation, in addition to timing, in addition to communications. It is a key enabler that the chairman, every time he has mentioned our military capability, he has started with cyber and space, because it is so fundamental to how we fight. And it really does start with the ultimate high ground and an unblinking eye.
Judge Weinberg, real quick.
So there's reports, Reuters reported that coming out of the intelligence community, there are rumors that the regime in Iran is nowhere close to folding. What are your thoughts about that?
Well, so I think that we need to give the protesters a chance. You know, I think Central Command has told them, stay in your homes and stay safe. But before we end this, we need to say to the protesters, unleash, get out into the streets, and give it a shot. And I think we were pretty close back in January, and then the regime weighed in without U.S. support. But I think with U.S. support and a surge of protesters, there is something very positive that could happen there.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, keep us posted. This is interesting. The whole world is watching, and what an amazing moment we're witnessing through history here, General. Thank you so much.
Thanks, team.
Thank you very much.
Thank
and here
you.